Let's explore the meaning of the ancient aphorism, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. What does, if you see the Buddha, you must kill the Buddha, actually mean? The individual continues. This quote is laced with violent imagery, and it's a puzzle to me. What does it mean? To me, it's similar to the Heart Sutra, which seems to celebrate the word no. Did the Buddha have an opinion about the Heart Sutra? What is the Heart Sutra even about? I gotta tell you, I am super tired. I did not get enough sleep last night, and sleep deprivation does not blend well with my disabilities. So I'm super tired right now, and this series of questions is an utter delight. This is like the world's best mochaccino, vegan mochaccino. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to rolling up my metaphoric sleeves and answering this question. Come, let us begin with broad brushstrokes. So the ancient aphorism reads as follows. If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Well, as they said on South Park about 30 years ago, what? What does that even mean? Here's what it means. Buddhism, according to Gautama, who is known as the Buddha, was not intended to be a religion. Our job is not to believe or worship or supplicate a real or imagined North Indian. What then is Buddhism all about? Buddhism is a set of techniques, and our job is not to believe in them. Our job is to experiment with them. Notice which ones work for us and which ones don't. Set aside the ones that don't work for us and play with the ones that do. When practiced properly, Buddhism can help our central nervous system to function in an optimized way, in a manner that helps us to be the peaceful, joyful, loving, resourceful people that as children we hoped we'd be. A careful reading of the Dhammapada will remind us the Buddha had no use for ritualism, as is typified by the phrase and by the passage, and I paraphrase, better to spend 1 hour in meditation than a lifetime spent attending a sacred flame. One of the reasons worship is frowned upon is that it is seen as a petulant way of indulging and strengthening the tyranny that the fundamental duality of hope and fear and dread and desire and avarice and aversion can have in our life. Our job is not to strengthen that tyranny, but to transcend it through the Buddha's set of techniques. What if enlightenment was nothing more than the mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path? As a little boy, I found the specter of tying my own shoes to be an impossible dream. After much effort and tears and repeated instructions, I prevailed. And by the time I entered first grade, I had mastered tying my shoes, for that I could then tie them spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. That's what mastery is. And when we master the Buddha's Eightfold Path, we too are a Buddha. That doesn't mean we are numb. We still experience the full spectrum of perceptions and emotions and intentions and thoughts and memories and imaginings. Some external, that we experience the full spectrum, the full spread of human experience, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. What sets us apart is we're able to cope with them. We're able to surf reality in a way that helps us to be the person that our dog already hopes we are. The good-hearted individual's second question pertains to the Buddha, and I think I answered that. So the role of the Buddha, if so, here's the thing. The Buddha did not see the world needed another religion. The Buddha was raised in a country full of religions. The Buddha was a yogi. So we've explored what the Buddha is, the Buddha's role in Buddhism. Let's move forward. Okay, and now emptiness. So I'm going to thoroughly explain emptiness to you in a manner that is both intellectual and visceral. But before I do, quick reminder, this is a bit of a transition. This is our overlapping Venn diagram. In a true religion, we would say the test of the emptiness doctrine was what the Buddha thought of the emptiness doctrine. However, this is not a religion. It doesn't matter if the Buddha existed or not, or what his opinion of the emptiness doctrine is. Then what is the test of the emptiness doctrine? It is as follows. When we apply the emptiness doctrine to our lives, for as little as 5 minutes or so every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days, what are the results we experience by the end of that time period? Has our joy and peace and love and resourcefulness diminished or multiplied? That is the litmus test of the emptiness doctrine, not what a real or imagined dead Indian thought. So now let us get to the emptiness doctrine. This is a sadly misunderstood teaching. So let's start from the beginning. Why is it misunderstood? And to answer that, I'm going to do a quick edit. Please bear with me. I think I want to jump ahead. What is it? 11 pages? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. 1 and 2. And let's hit copy and go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, right. So Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. 90% of everything sucks, and that includes meditation teachers. But why is that? Because 90% of humans tend to be stuck in the yang or patriarchy worldview, as was the Buddha's wicked cousin, Devadatta, who thought it would be a wonderful way to go through. It would be wonderful to go through life rigid, fearful, suspicious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. However, a minority of individuals think it's better to go through life from the yin or matriarchy or the Buddha's perspective of being flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. So the people who tend to be rigid and controlling tend to have a literalist view of what they hear and what they read. The problem is that any good biologist would tell you that all complex life forms on this planet, or I should say all complex animals on this planet, evolved to think symbolically. Therefore, figurative language is ubiquitous. It is found on every populated continent. So it therefore behooves us to be flexible and laid back in our approach to that which we hear and read. When I still remember the first night I read the Heart Sutra. I read all this hype about it, and then I read the Sutra, and I was so disappointed. Here's what the Heart Sutra is about. It is a Mahayana version of a Theravadan text. The Theravadan text is known as the Satipatthana Sutta, or the Discourse on the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. It presents those four foundations of mindfulness, which really act as a synopsis of the majority of the Buddha's teachings. And it takes that synopsis, it distills it, and then views it through the lens of emptiness. But what's emptiness? Glad you asked. Emptiness is only going to make sense when we understand, when we view mindfulness and meditation through the lens of neuroscience. So let's do that together right now. You have heard me prattle on about the Buddha's Eightfold Path. The seventh fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path is mindfulness. The eighth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path is meditation. Together, this dynamic duo, this Batman and Robin, are the dynamo that drives the enlightenment machine of the remainder six folds. Because of our practice of mindfulness and meditation, we're able to practice the effortless effort of the sixth fold. We're able to explore viscerally and spontaneously explore the impermanence of the first fold. And we're able to viscerally and automatically experience the loving kindness that constitutes the second, third, fourth, and fifth folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, 50% of the path. So now that we understand how important mindfulness meditation is, let us look through it, let us gaze upon it or view it through the lens of neuroscience. Let us begin with what mindfulness is not. Mindfulness is not concentration. I'm so grateful that we have functional magnetic resonance imaging studies, also known as fMRIs, for they have revealed that when we choose to practice active analysis or active concentration, we are utilizing structures of the front part of the brain, such as the medial prefrontal cortex and the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. In the short term, relying upon active analysis and active concentration causes our blood to gather at our amygdala, the seat of aggression and anxiety, located in the dungeon, the metaphoric dungeon of our limbic system. I think we'd agree that you didn't sign up for meditation because you wanted to be more aggressive and more anxious. I think you wanted the opposite. I sure know I did. But here's the good news. Oh, by the way, there's some more bad news. When we can persist in over-relying upon our prefrontal cortex, we begin exhausting it and then present with many of the symptoms of depression. Nobody wants that as well. In fact, the third enlightenment factor is energy. The fourth enlightenment factor is joy, which is pretty much the opposite of depression and anxiety and aggression. Would you not agree? Oh, I forgot tranquility, which is the sixth enlightenment factor. So the enlightenment factors, so we know we're on the right path by what's going on in our body and our brain. If the techniques we are using are undermining our energy and our joy and our peace, to quote Bugs Bunny, we've taken a wrong turn in Albuquerque. So our moods are a wonderful barometer for the effectiveness of the trainings we are playing with. And that's very good news. So now that we know that over-reliance upon our prefrontal cortex is bad news, that our prefrontal cortex is an excellent tool for analysis, but that it's a terrible tool to help us deal with our emotions, this begs the question, what parts of the central nervous system are ideal, therefore, for spiritual training? Glad you asked. The answer is twofold, and we shall begin with mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system, which is ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage section of our spinal cord. No. The sympathetic nervous system did not evolve to support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. Excuse me. Instead, this sympathetic nervous system evolved to simply notice, but to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Can you see how this is the opposite of active concentration? So, every time we inhale, we are wired to perceive. We are wired to perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We are wired to notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Now, this could feel really overwhelming. And so we could ask ourselves, how do I deal with all this gurk that I'm experiencing? The answer is easy. You see, the answer comes down to meditation. For every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, we are automatically and effortlessly accessing our parasympathetic nervous system. This is ensconced within both the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of the cervical region that some people describe as the brainstem or the reticular activation system, if you really want to get a winning answer on Scrabble. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now, it's been my experience that our super intelligent brain is a bit like Urkel. And without meaning to, it can generate chaos. But did you know that just like Urkel, our brain has a heart of gold, metaphorically speaking? And so if we ask our brain to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, it begins to function in harmony and cooperation with our sympathetic nervous system, allowing us to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and even randomly. And during our exhalation, when we ask our brain to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease, it begins to cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system, helping us to physically relax and mentally release, which is in essence meditation. Now, remember before I told you that when we rely upon such structures when we rely upon our brain structures such as the medial prefrontal cortex or the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, our energy starts to gather at our anxious and aggressive amygdala. Remember that? Well, here's the good news. When we take a relaxing break from overworking our poor, panting, exhausted prefrontal cortex and rely upon our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous systems to perceive and release, something amazing happens. According to fMRI studies, our blood mass shifts away from our amygdala and towards this thing over here that kind of looks like the backwards letter C. That kind of looks like a catcher's mitt, doesn't it? The big fancy name is the anterior cingulate gyrus. It functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy and compassion and love, which is very, very cool. So, now that you and I have a good rudimentary grasp of the wonders of mindfulness and meditation, we can ask the $64,000 question, how does this relate to emptiness? Simple. Remember how I told you that those who are rigid take a literal view of things, and that those who are flexible are comfortable with the words meaning more than just one thing. Words having multiple definitions and also figurative meanings as well. This is a case of that. You see, this is really cool. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna subject you to jumbo cam because I'm clearly a sadistic. Okay, every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less permanent, could feel less rigid. Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less defining, could feel less tangible, even for a moment. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation, here comes the metaphor presented as a simile. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel, at least even momentarily, as if it was as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. Now, any good English teacher will remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. So what is a real-world, non-theoretical, pragmatic example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void from our everyday life? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, could be non-graspable to the hand? That's all that emptiness means. So when we say form is empty, what we're saying is, as we relax into our exhalation, the body that we might have noticed during our inhalation could feel less graspable, if only for a moment. No one goes through life with only one in-breath. No one goes through life with only one out-breath. Throughout our lives, we're breathing in and out all day long, awake or asleep, hot or cold, happy or sad, we're breathing. As long as we're alive, we're breathing. Similarly, as we go through life, we are perceiving and releasing back and forth. That is what our central nervous systems have evolved to do. By cooperating with our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system, we're able to process reality. So when we go through the Heart Sutra, when it says no, it's a figure of speech. So if it says, and I'm going to take this off the top of my head, no eye, no ear, no nose, no mouth, no form, no mind. What it's really saying is, there is no eye that once noticed cannot be released. There is no ear that once noticed cannot be released. Whatever air we notice during our in-breath, we are already wired to release it during our out-breath, as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. There are many good-hearted people who have been taught that belief is the shortcut to great wisdom, but it is not. Remember, in the Four Noble Truths, we learned that the fundamental duality that multiplies our stressors is the tyranny of dread and desire, pushing and pulling. And belief only strengthens the rigidity that supports that duality. So we set aside belief, we set aside disbelief, and just put on our hat of pragmatism, our mad scientist hat that is happy to experiment with our circumstances and our body and our relationships and our mind, is willing to take our experiences, whatever comes our way, and bring it through the coffee grinder of the awareness and release latent within our autonomic nervous system, and then determines whether this way of processing reality is beneficial or not. I do look forward to practicing this with you in fine detail after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School for more than 30 years. I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible through the generosity of viewers just like you. This morning, I think it could be fun to play with the latest iteration of the Easy Meditation Practice text. This individual here is known in Sanskrit as Avalokiteshvara, in Tibetan as Chinmay Zik, which could translate into English as kind gaze. Those who have the misfortune of being on the path of being rigid, fearful, and controlling tend to view this as an entity to be worshipped and supplicated. However, if you found me on the internet, you most likely desire to traverse the path of being flexible and loving and laid back. And upon this path, we view this individual as simply an archetype, whose iconography reminds us of the path of awareness and letting go, as well as love and letting go, and bliss and letting go. Just as a runner will warm up before sprinting, you and I can warm up with some easy, passive, fun contemplations. Let us begin by bringing the 4 bases of mindfulness into the practice of love and bliss and letting go. A quick reminder, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist recitation, Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. Please chant with me. Rather than indulging or controlling tendencies with our follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, We could just recite these kind words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Can I fit the word passively here? Yes, I can. Let's continue. Let us accept the rigidity that confuses metaphors or statements literal. And instead reflects into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. Let us begin by reviewing the meaning of Tibet's most famous mantra. Together. Om, I invoke the wish-fulfilling Mani, jewel of love, and the purifying baby lotus of letting go. Supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. And now, we're ready to go for it. May all minds of all beings now be as peacefully enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a tikle one syllable seed or bija mantra. Why do we play with similes? Because all complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. What is the metaphoric philosopher's stone that transforms the worthless lead of mindless mantra recitation into the valuable gold of mantra meditation? The answer is twofold. First, during our inhalation, we silently, mentally, and passively recite this italicized bit, which is the Cliff's Notes of this bit right here. All this shrunk down to just 6 syllables. Pretty cool. Number 2, during our exhalation, we physically relax as best we can while striving to chant this 6-syllable mantra 4 times per breath. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So we're doing this for 4 breaths. And I'm counting the breaths upon the 4 fingers of my left hand. I'm advancing my thumb, well, in such a way as this. During the first breath, I was counting on my left little finger, and now we're going to count on my left ring finger, and you can see what's going on. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. We're now going to count the 3rd breath upon our middle finger. When I say now, I mean in a second or 2. Let's chant. Oopsie, I got turned around. Please accept my apology. Let's continue now with the 3rd breath. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani fourth breath upon our index finger. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Last night, when I was really tired, really punchy, I had a flashback to an individual who was being romantically overbearing, and how so I felt the full spectrum of knee-jerk emotions, including the desire to throw a rock at his head. Clearly I didn't. But if we're honest with ourselves, when we feel the full spectrum of emotions, that's one of the emotions we sometimes feel. And it's good to acknowledge that. But then it's also good to exercise a loving wish. The wish that even the people who are worst to us be lavished with wisdom and love and health and good fortune. And so this exercise really came in handy. So we've just counted our first 4 mantra meditations, our first 4 breaths. Let's continue. May all relationships, all speech of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddhist communication symbolized by the 6-syllable mantra. Hey man, aren't mantras just prayers? Well, I don't view them that way. You see, I could just as easily contemplate without a mantra, but I work with a mantra because as someone who is differently abled, lethargy is a specter. It is a ghoul that chases me through the dungeons of my dreams. So I found that working with mantras can help me to better manage this body's energy. Perhaps it can help you as well. So now we come to our second set of 4 breaths. And in the same way, let us count upon our 4 fingers. One finger for each breath. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 So it would be very nice if our beautiful intentions and our mantras caused magic to happen. They caused all minds and relationships and bodies and circumstances to be lavished with wisdom and love and health and good fortune. But in case that doesn't happen, remember, if all we do is exercise the neural pathways responsible for love, then that is a victory. Together. May whole bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddhist statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yidam and archetype of enlightenment such as Chenrezig. So let us now count the next 4 breaths. Having some trouble with my vision, please bear with me. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Oopsie. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Remember, the metaphoric magic, lies in relaxing into our exhalation. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or vati. And now let's count an additional 4 breaths. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 So those 4 exercises had in common was love. Really having trouble with my visual cortex right now. Please bear with me. So we used our left hand to count 4 sets of 4 breaths for a total of 16 breaths. On our right hand, we could keep track right here with the first of 16 exercises. Our spiritual workout consists of 16 exercises. Returning to our left hand, we're now going to keep track of 16 breaths. This time counting 4 breaths on each finger. 4 breaths on our little finger, 4 breaths on our ring finger, 4 breaths on our left middle finger, and you guessed it, 4 breaths on our left index finger. We're going to advance our left thumb during each inhalation. The nickname for this is Bengali crease counting. So I'm going to tap button 9. Please chant with me. So we're doing something really fun. It's kind of like the opening and closing of the umbrella. We began by opening the umbrella, throwing love at people's minds, at the mental and the interpersonal and the physical and the circumstantial. And now we're going to play with the reverse sequence, exploring the wisdom of the circumstantial and the physical and the interpersonal and the mental. Isn't that fun? It's like opening and closing an umbrella. Please chant with me. All visible circumstances or laws could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. Allow me to decode this for you. We're saying that circumstance has many syllables. Lots has one syllable. So we're using the word lot as a monosyllabic synonym of circumstance. Same thing with body. Body has 2 syllables. Form has 1 syllable. We're using form as a 1-syllable synonym of body. But wait, there's more. We're using melt as a metaphor. We're using melting as a metaphor of impermanence. And we're using absorption as a metaphor of interdependence. And the ancients found that by working with these metaphors, these ideas of impermanence and interdependence cease to be mere abstractions and instead become the visceral experiences they were always meant to be. So, as you probably guessed, we're going to take all these words and condense them into just 6 syllables. During our inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, see lots melt. Seen lots melt. And during our exhalation, into form. Please chant with me. All sensual bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech. Please join me now as we count upon our left ring finger. All resounding interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully melt and absorb into this mind. Come, let us count upon our left middle finger. All lucid minds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be non-graspable to the hand. And now let us count upon our left index finger. During the last exercise, we counted 16 rounds on our left hand, remembering that a round is simply one inhalation and one exhalation. On our right hand, we kept track of our first set of 16 breaths, and now our second set of 16 breaths. For the next 14 sets, we're going to play with the awareness and letting go that we explored during the opening lesson. However, we're going to rest our hands in our lap. Allow me to remind you how this works. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, while we kick back and watch the antics of our mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease as we relax into mind's non-graspable nature. And we do all this automatically and effortlessly, for it is what we are wired to do. Every time we breathe in, we are wired to generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head. Every time we exhale, we are wired to release that traction. well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable vision. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void now be as loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void now be as healthy as a Yadamak type depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing yet void now be as fortunate as a pure land of lore represented in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 9 3/4 hours, I would very much like my lucidity to be sharper and sharp enough to allow me to respond to today's evening meditation class and group practice. If you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.